Hi everyone, my name is Molly Chard. I'm a board member at Women in Cybersecurity UK and I'm also a cybersecurity manager with Capgemini. I'll be talking about giving back to move forward once we get started. So a small segment on, how you can propel not only your own career forward, but other people's and help develop a positive culture through giving back. So I'll pass over to one of the others to introduce himself.
Hi everyone, I'm Zoe. I'm also a board member at WeSys UK and my day job is an information security specialist at Dr. Martens. So today I'll be talking about how to springboard your career from my experience being the person who is not only interviewing more senior candidates but also being interviewed myself. So hopefully I can impart some advice, and I'd really love to hear any questions you have in the chat as well.
I'm happy to go next. Or Claudia, do you want to go next? I see you have your stuff unmuted. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Timmy. I'm the founder and CEO of Cydia, and Cydia is a social enterprise focused on helping Black and minority ethnic women navigate and enter the cybersecurity industry. Outside of that, I'm also doing my PhD in cybersecurity at Royal Holloway University. And today I'm going to be talking about the superpower of diversity and why you being different is actually your superpower and you should feel empowered by that. And I'm hoping that I'm going to share some tips around diversity, but also navigating your career as someone from an ethnic minority background.
I'll go next. That leaves Lorna to last. Professor Lisa Short, for those that know me, I was actually on Work Group 8 for Inclusion and Diversity for the National Cybersecurity Council in the early stages of instigation during 2020 and 2021. Also the Chief Research Officer for the Global Foundation of Cyber Studies and Research, and on adjunct faculty around the world in cyber to a number of universities in the UK, on the board for the International Cyber Expo, and also very passionately on the board for NeuroCyber UK. And I'll be talking about thought leadership in the industry, and smashing those glass ceilings so we get some really great leaders who are women in the industry.
Hey everybody, I'm Lon Armitage, one of the co-founders of Caps Lock. Caps Lock, we're an education company and we help people who want to career change into cyber. And I'll be talking about the modern day leader and the importance of women in that role as well.
Shall I try again? Are you able to hear me now, ladies?
Yeah.
This is the first time I've attended one of these events because having been in ERP for a number of years, but having started my career in cybersecurity with Trend Micro and McAfee about 20 years ago now, I've recently joined a startup called Redsift, and we're a Series B startup working on mailbox fortification, anti-phishing techniques, and just really helping domain protection. That's where we sit. And I'm their VP of Customer Success, and I'm delighted to be here today. I also have to do, I've been asked later on today for Redsift to do an interview. So I'm pleased to be listening to all of your wonderful experiences and stories today, because a little bit later on, I will be the person that people will be asking questions to. So I'm honoured to be here. It's great to be back in cybersecurity. Can I just say that?
So I don't know, Zoe, if we want to just kick off with your talk, because Laura's having a few tech issues still, and we can just make a start.
Yeah, because I think what we were planning to do was, between myself, Lorna, Molly, Steph and Lisa, was just to take on a different part of excelling in your career as an existing security professional. So we've all got something slightly different to talk about, and I'm happy to kick off. So what I'd really like to talk about is how to springboard your career. So for any participants who are currently working in security, maybe you're working in an entry-level security role at the moment, or you're slightly more further on in your career and you're just feeling a bit stagnant and you're thinking how do I get to that next level? How do I look at where I want to go? So I've got a few little bits of advice I'm happy to talk about, and if you have any questions, pop them in the chat. So I guess my first bit of advice would be really try and be quite targeted in where you're looking to springboard to. I think the security industry is so vast and there are just so many jobs out there, lots of them with manager and senior in the title, and it can be quite hard to differentiate sometimes what's the difference between that information security manager role and this one. So the way I look at it is be quite targeted in not only the kind of region of security you're looking to go into, so whether that be specializing in governance, risk and compliance, specializing in maybe cloud security or technical security, or wanting to go kind of further up a security management level, so that's where you're kind of generalized over your security program. And also look at the sector you'd like to work in, because every sector deals with security differently. From my experience, I've worked in private sector, public sector. I've worked for companies with fantastic work-life balance, and I've also worked for companies with a not very good work-life balance. So it's almost like, where are you looking to get to from kind of the area of security plus the kind of sector. For example, actually, if you're really interested in working in the charity sector, start to just hone down your kind of like job search, just to the charity jobs, see what they're looking for. So that's kind of my first bit of advice. I guess the second bit, once you've kind of found out where you're looking to go to, is to really like make yourself your own personal development plan, because as much as your current job will be able to help you with their kind of view of your personal development, like they want you to do a certification or they want you to do this, think about yourself outside of work. Where do you want to be in a few years' time, and what can you do for yourself to make your training and development plan align to the roles you're going for? So I guess my example of this is I chose to take a master's. This is absolutely not the be-all and end-all of what you can do in security. There's so many options. We've got Lorna on the call who runs a caps lock program as well to try and get people ready for entry level. But if you're looking to kind of reskill or skill up when you're in security, you can look at certifications, but you can also just look at e-learning, like e-learning online courses, and just really try and guide yourself. And there's fantastic free resources out there, and there's also paid resources. So just try and make yourself that little plan, whether it be e-learning, YouTube, whether it be buying books or going on more paid courses. And then I guess my final bit would just be kind of envisage yourself in a few years' time. Where are you looking to get to in like 3 steps ahead? It's okay if you don't have that answer, if you're kind of just looking to kind of improve a bit of your current work-life balance or improve a bit of your current role, that's where your next step could be. But if you're really focused, like, you know what, I want to be a CISO, and we should want to be CISOs, we should want to get onto the board. So how do I plan to get myself there? But what I would say is not only just looking at the role, is I want to be a CISO in this sector. I want to be a CISO with a work-life balance. I want to have a family and be a CISO. So there's like things that you consider for where you'd like to be. And if your next position could at least factor in like one of the things, like it makes me more senior in my current role, which is one step to be a CISO. I'm actually working in an industry I really like, and I want to be a CISO in that industry eventually. So if you just make one step, you are kind of stepping towards that goal, and you don't need to rush either. So just take your time. There's absolutely no rush to get as far as possible. Enjoy your professional development, enjoy your current roles, and you don't need to consistently think about climbing the ladder too much, just maybe improving your experience upon every role you go for. My final bit, because I know I've only got so much to say, my final bit is when you kind of have tailored your CV, you've worked out what roles you want to go for, and you're kind of positioning yourself as a primary top tier candidate for that role, and you're quite targeted in how you're applying for the jobs as well. When you get into those interviews, don't be afraid to interview the interviewers. Once obviously they've established that you're a fantastic candidate for the role, you can now turn around and say, actually, to a potential line manager, what are you doing for your own professional development? Because if your line manager is looking to develop themselves, they will invest in you. And that's what I've also learned. Work for a good manager, work for a good team. They will sponsor you through the industry and what you want to do. And that's it. So just wondering if anyone had any questions. in the
Thank
chat.
you. Thank you, Zoe. That was fantastic. And I forgot to say, of course, happy International Women's Day to everybody. And I'm sorry to quickly butt in. Laura, I know that you're watching now. You should be able to refresh your screen and then be able to join us on the screen. You've been added as one of the invitees for this room, so you should be able to do that, Laura. And that was all I was saying. So Laura is watching at the moment, and she'll join you on the screen just as soon as possible. Sorry about that.
We haven't had many questions come through, so maybe we'll just move on. Molly, were you next, or was it?
Yes, I was. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So I'm happy to, kick off with the second one. So my little segment is slightly different. It focuses on a phrase, giving back to move forward, which I'm really passionate about. And I think moving forward has multiple meanings, right? So you can give back to help other people move forward, whether that's in imparting information that you've already learned or sharing resources that you wish you would have had in the past. Or you can help them by, mentoring or volunteering or getting involved, or you can give back to help raise awareness. So moving forward might be not just helping other people, but it might be helping a culture move forward by raising awareness, by breaking these biases, by talking up about these things. Moving forward also has another meaning in that it can help you move forward. And I think that's often an area that's missed, because we focus so much, which is great, on helping other people, but it can be a benefit to yourself as well. And there's multiple ways in which you can give back. You could volunteer for non-profits or for other organizations. You could participate as a mentor. There's various schemes. I mean, at the moment, in my role as a cybersecurity manager with Capgemini, I'm a mentor there to multiple people in different areas of the business, multiple women. And I've also been a professional mentor for a fantastic charity called Code Your Future, who help refugees and disadvantaged people secure their first role in tech through like a coding academy. You can also help by raising awareness. You can give back by talking, on your social channels about issues which you are passionate about raising awareness about certain biases or experiences you may have had to help others. But the benefits of volunteering are vast, right? You can not only help others, which is rewarding in and of itself, but you can also expand your network. By getting involved in all of these volunteering activities, you're meeting new people, you're sharing knowledge, and you're also demonstrating your passion for a particular subject. So it has a myriad of different benefits. And one of the ways in which I give back, which I've already alluded to, is the mentoring. So not only for Code Your Future, but as a cybersecurity manager at the moment. And I'd like to point out that I'm not just a mentor, I'm a mentee as well. So I have a mentor. And I think that's a really important point to make, because people often think they look at someone who they think subjectively is successful and they think, oh, they don't need a mentor. But actually, we all do, and we can all keep learning. It's a constant learning journey. And it's been so rewarding on the flip side to be a mentor, because I'm imparting the benefits of my experience to others that may need it. And it's just rewarding. I've learned new skills, as in like active listening, getting better myself at listening to other people and their experiences, and trying to empathize and understand their different cultures, their different backgrounds, their different experiences. And then being a mentee myself, I'm constantly learning. I'm still developing leadership skills. Even as a cybersecurity manager, I'm still developing my communication skills. It's an ongoing learning journey. Another way in which I've given back to move forward is, via social channels, via LinkedIn, where I'm raising awareness about important topics. I'm publishing articles, I'm publishing blogs. I publish content, for Women in Cybersecurity UK. And I encourage those, constructive, respectful debates. And again, that gets everybody talking. It helps them, understand these different biases, to share their perspectives, and to actively listen to other people and where they're coming from, and to really learn from that. And I think it's accelerated my career. All of this giving back, that wasn't my intention in the beginning. I just wanted to help, but actually it's helped me by, giving me exposure to different networks, different people. I wouldn't be volunteering for WESIS UK as a board member if I didn't, engage with that sort of content on LinkedIn, and I was already passionate about it and I was already doing it. So it opens up doors, it opens up people, and it's also just rewarding in the sense that you are giving back to other people. And I think I'll just finish my little segment on a quote, which is, be the person you needed at a previous point in your life. And it will be rewarding on many levels. And happy International Women's Day, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Laura.
Please accept my sincere apologies, audience and team. A few technical issues. I couldn't access the breakout room, so I'm so sorry to leave you guys on your own. Obviously, you don't need me. That was brilliant, Molly. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, Zoe, I didn't get to hear yours because I was on the call with the tech guys. So I do apologise. But Molly, that's fantastic. I think one of the key things you were talking there was about the mentoring, and obviously being a mentee yourself. You know, linking back to Angelique and Claudia about, you know, the never stop learning piece. But actually, it's the reverse mentoring that you also get from the person that you are mentoring, right? And then what they can teach you is just absolutely invaluable. And I work with Lorna's organisation, Caps Lock, and mentors her students, and I learn something new every week from these people. They're just amazing. So it does definitely help shape you as a person as well. What you can learn from ground up as well as top down. So, and that the quote there, Molly, be the person you needed at a particular point in your life. I just think that is amazing. Yeah, that really, really rings true. So, ladies, did you manage to give a little bit of a overview at the beginning of the session, obviously on the purpose and everything? Thank you so much.
We did a round robin of intros, Laura, and so we did. So everyone knows who we are, and Claudia introduced herself as well, and then we went into talks, and it was my talk and then Molly's. So I think we're ready to move on to the other ladies.
Thank you so much. So Zoe, you've been, Molly, you've been. So I think Stephanie, you're next, aren't you, to talk about the power of diversity?
Yes, I am, and welcome Laura to the stage as well. Happy International Day, everyone. And today I'm going to be talking about the importance of diversity. And one of my favorite quotes when I think about diversity and inclusion is that diversity has been invited to the party, but inclusion is being asked to dance. And that is important because when we think about, you know, having different minds, people with different thoughts, background, and organizations to solve these global risks, do we think about how we make people feel empowered and how we make people feel respected? Because that's when we enter into the delve of inclusion. And when we're looking at the quotes, DCMS reports of 2020 highlights that women make 15% and that ethnic minorities make 17%. And when we conflate these two figures and look at the intersectionality of women who may possess, might be women, but also might be from an ethnic minority background, the number is much smaller. And when we're thinking about the importance of diversity, we understand that we're in a global world. We're not dealing with UK cyber attacks, we're dealing with attacks from everywhere in the world. So we need to have a global mindset and we need to have a diverse perspective when dealing with these issues. Now, going into the second part, and I think Molly did a great job about talking about how she's been able to open the doors for others and how it's impacted her. And I think when we're dealing with how do we make an inclusive culture, we need to think about how do we open the doors for others, especially those who might be from minority backgrounds. So again, highlights and points have been said before, like serving as a mentor, but being a sponsor, do you proactively endorse and provide opportunities for other individuals that may not be like you, that may not be in your immediate network? Are you constantly thinking about, okay, this person may not have the same background as me, but I know there's opportunities available. Do I share it with them? And I think that's something that's important when we're thinking about opening the doors for others and being inclusive. Also, inviting women to your network. This is not just for women, but for men as well. When you are having special networking events or outings, do you also invite women in your networks to that environment as well? And I'm going to talk about being an ally and a champion, which I think is incredibly important. To be an ally for someone who might be from a background different to you, whether that is from a different ethnic background or ability background, I think the best thing to do is to listen. And this is important as a company. Do you listen to your staff? Because when we're talking about empowering and giving voice to your staff, you need to know or have that feedback and be open to criticism sometimes. So listening, boosting voices. So I know I always highlight employee resource network everywhere I go, because I think that's incredibly important, because you're empowering employees within your network to be actors of change or change makers within your organization, but also educating yourself, speaking up. And this is something that all of us can do as individuals. When you see that there is something that is not right, do you speak up for that individual? Do you say, actually, this is not wrong, or do you turn a blind eye? And I think we have to be very radical if we're talking about diversity and inclusion. It can't be a lip service, because what we are trying to build, utopia world, which might be, for some people might think, it's impossible, it's rainbows. But I do think that we have to be radical and start with ourselves. Are we speaking up for others? And I think that's incredibly important. And practical steps for companies, going back again, empower your staff, protect your staff. I think when someone comes to you and say, I've been bullied or I've been discriminated against, what do you do? Do you take it seriously? Or do you, again, have lip service or make your staff feel like their voice isn't heard? And also becoming an ally as an organization. Do you stand up? It's not social media posts during key events like today, International Women's Day, where you talk about, I support women, but what are the tangible steps? And what I will always say for companies is to think, what are your small wins? What can you do today to make a change that it's quick? What is your medium-term goals, whether that is creating your own diversity inclusion board within your company? What are you doing to show that you're actually taking this seriously and this is not just a PR stunt? And finally, what are your big wins? And that's when you're thinking ambitious. What do you want in 10 years time, 20 years time? And those is what I would say for inclusion, practical steps for companies. But again, highlighting diversity is incredibly important, because we're in a global world and we need a global team to actually solve that. So thank you very much.
Amazing. Thanks, Steph. Never a truer word spoken. Global mindset, diverse approach, that's what it's all about, right? Voice needs to be heard, has to be heard. But actually, how do we make employees, the environment and the workplace a safe place to allow people to use their voice and feel like they're confident to be heard? That's the key piece, really, isn't it? And actually, the organisations, leadership, what are those steps they're taking? How can they demonstrate actually they are doing something about it? And it's not a International Women's Day promotion PR stunt tick box exercise that meets that corporate agenda. Move along to the next piece. It's what is meaningful. How do we prove that? What are the key tangible steps that businesses can demonstrate? So, who's next? Lorna. Lorna is going to talk about the role of a modern leader and the importance of women leadership in today's society, and how women are shaping the role of a leader in today's society.
Thanks, Laura. Hi, everybody, and happy International Women's Day. I think my talk's been made really easy, because I think Molly, Zoe, and Steph have covered a lot of what I'm going to say actually around that leadership role and how important that is. And Steph, you alluded to it just then around companies, and I think one of the key things in a leadership role is understanding that behaviour throughout a company is set at the top. The culture is set at the top, and it's it's a leadership's role to ensure that they practice what they preach really at the top there as a leader. And I think leadership qualities, I think as we look at them in society, have changed for the better, in my view. Long gone are the days, I think, where we expect the leaders to be banging the fist and shouting and dictating things. I think we all understand that actually a really key trait in leadership is inspiring others. And nurturing others, and as women, a lot of these traits, and I'm generalizing, come natural to us. And I think women have really enhanced that role and been able to bring really positive traits to that leadership role, which is fantastic. But it's about understanding people, isn't it? It's understanding that diversity aspect of it. It's understanding that people think differently, they act differently, they develop in different ways. And if you can understand the people around you as a leader, understand where they're coming from, then I think you really can nurture and inspire those and promote people to better themselves as well, and and giving them that confidence to speak. And Steph, again, you said something really important there. It's around listening to people. as well, and listening when they come to you if they have got concerns and issues. You know, you might not understand it, it might not be something that you've experienced, but actually actively listening to what they're going through, what their concerns are, what their difficulties are, and being able to help and support that in that leadership role is really important to setting that culture, but also, yeah, to promoting that diversity and active inclusion and diversity is really, really important for businesses. But I think for me, I'm going to take it back. I was asked the other day in an interview actually about who, as a woman, who's the most inspiring woman in my life or has been in the past. And I actually had a little think about it, and I thought actually it was my mum growing up. So my mum's just an ordinary working class mum. But the one thing I think that was really inspiring for me growing up was I've come from a family of four sisters and a brother. Probably a lot older than a lot of people in this room. So back in a time when, you know, I think we were probably still struggling a lot with gender equality. But the one thing that my mum did to inspire me throughout growing up was always constantly told us all, you can do anything that you want to do. You know, don't let anybody tell you any different. You know, always be yourself and be true to yourself. And I think that really is key. And it brings it back to really, you know, women in that. As parents, we do it naturally. I think going through life, we just naturally build these leadership skills. And it's just fantastic that we're taking them into businesses now and enhancing those cultures in businesses. And long may it continue.
Thank you, Lorna. I think that's a good point you made there about even, you know, when we're parents and how we you know have that natural nurturing ability, or you know how parenting brings that to you. But actually, the irony, I suppose, is, you know, going back a few years, that, you know, the way perhaps mothers didn't feel that they could fit into an environment, fit into the workplace, because they couldn't adhere to you know the time constraints, the responsibilities, you know, everything that's expected of them. That's, you know, that was my experience. I was made to feel like I couldn't be the person that I wanted to be. I couldn't reach my potential because I couldn't give 150% all the time. I needed flexibility, and in a male-dominated environment in the square mile in the city of London, I was constantly made to feel like I wasn't good enough to be there because of that point. But actually, full circle, you know, 15, 20 years later, actually, that's what makes us better leaders. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why we need more women at the top as leaders, isn't it? So that actually you can see that. And Zoe said it, you know, you want to progress and you want to get into those roles, but you don't want to give up your family to do that. You don't want to give up your friends. You don't want to give up that work-life balance. And why should you have to? And actually, you know, you've already done the time management, the organisation stuff. You know, if you've come through as a parent or in different other parts of your life. So it's not like it's not impossible to do that. And I think the more women we can see doing that and openly speaking and saying, yes, I'm in this role, but it's not 100% of my life. You know, I want to switch off at 3 o'clock on a Friday actually and go and enjoy my weekend as much as anybody else. I think that's really important.
Yeah. You need to be in an environment or be made to feel safe enough that actually you can be honest about what you need. And if you can be honest about what you need and you have that opportunity, you can be the best person you can be, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right, Lisa, let's jump onto you. Lisa is going to talk about thought leadership and how to make an impact with it. I'm just conscious of time and I don't want to cut off, so I've just requested another 5 minutes, if that's okay with you ladies, before we hop over to the Q&A. So hopefully we don't just get cut off. I don't know how this works, so hopefully we'll be okay. Sorry, Lisa.
Thanks, Laura. And hi, everyone. And, you know, I think I'll just build on everything that, you know.
Is it me? Sorry to cut in.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Lisa. Yeah, you're fine for me. I think it might be.
Everybody else can hear? Okay, yeah. I'm just going to build, I think, again, on everything that Molly, Steph, Zoe and Lorna, you know, have said. But I'm just going to sort of talk about a few things in terms of thought leadership and where we need to sit. And I'm going to talk about accountability and actions because, you know, something that was really profound to me this morning was I had one of my very close friends that I look up to as a mentor to me said she's tired of today being a day of platitudes and words and no actions. And I think, you know, I can see Lorna nodding and it's the way I feel too. And And so I'm going to just start with some, some facts, not fiction. And I think I've had enough of talking about the waffle, and let's just be really honest. We need to hold, the industry and the sector accountable, and not just our sector, but also the economy. And that's where thought leadership comes in. We need to actually be factual. A couple of weeks ago, I was running a session on women in entrepreneurship, and I was actually asked to remove, can you just take the word women out of that title of that workshop? And I said, why? And they said, well, it's not palatable because the men that want to come to this session don't think that's palatable. And so let me tell you, I ran that event and it was called Women in Entrepreneurship. And the accountability is that we know that there is a higher ROI, for example, on businesses that are inclusive and diverse, but it's more factual than that. There's a higher ROI or return on investment by greater than 15% where there are women-led enterprises and where we have more than 3 leaders who are women in organisations. But my question is, who is actually holding the organisations accountable? In other words, if you've got shareholders and you've got investors and you've got people that own those businesses, if you're not actually saying to them, who is accountable if you don't have women on your leadership team and you don't have women leading the way, then you are fundamentally failing the economy and, of course, the investment that's been into those businesses. But so there's facts, there's not fiction. This is not a conversation we need to be having, and we need to be having action. So my first thing about thought leadership is that change requires action, not words. Words are cheap. Actions aren't. They require people to do something. That means after today, you physically actually have to plan to physically, tangibly do something to change the leadership, the low levels of leadership we have in this industry. And that requires us to take action and hold businesses accountable. And it will make people uncomfortable. And you know what? They ought to be uncomfortable. So I sit on the 66th Commission for the Status of Women, and we need to make the world uncomfortable because we're tired of not being at the table. And so being uncomfortable is okay. It's not confrontational. It just means feel uncomfortable, because women have a right to be and have a right to have a sense of parity. I don't like the word equality per se, but I do like the word parity. But for me, I think also as a woman who's a leader in this industry, I use my experiences, and I ask you all to ask, what are the experiences that you've had in your career that change you? What are the drivers that you have in the industry that are driving you? What's the thing that's making you so passionate about ensuring that we have more women in the industry? So again, think about what experiences change you. The other one is, what sets you apart? Because we're all different. Every one of us as women, everyone on this call, has had a different pathway into this sector. Mine wasn't as like Lorna's, where my mum said, you can go out and do anything. Mine wasn't. Mine was when I left school, where I was told that when you got married, you had to give up your job and that only the boys got educated. So I've had 40 years of smashing glass ceilings, and I'm fed up to smashing glass ceilings. I'm fed up to carrying that gauntlet and having permanently an ice pick in my backpack, because every time I go somewhere, I've got to smash a glass ceiling. And so what sets us apart? It's our guts and our tenacity and our courage, because a lot of us as leaders have had to continue to fight. And for those on the call know, I'm experiencing the worst discrimination I have had in my entire 40-year career as I stand here today, because I've had those who are making decisions about my visa, for example, say I add no value to the industry, that I'm not quite good enough. Well, how much better have women got to be? So what sets us apart? It's our guts, our tenacity, and our courage. And I hold everybody on this call accountable that when you hear examples of me saying that, what the hell are you going to do when you get off this call to change that? Because platitudes aren't enough. We're fed up with that. And I guess the next thing is, who and what inspires you? As a leader, what continues to inspire us as thought leaders in this industry? Now, I posted this morning on LinkedIn, every single person on this call inspires me. I know I listen to Laura and Steph and Molly and Claudia and Zoe and Lorna and Lisa and Natalie and Natasha and everybody else in the industry. You're all awesome. But I posted about 6 people that are not in my industry that support me, because they're the ones that pick me up when I crumble, when I don't think that I can keep going on. And they're the ones that inspire me. They're the ones that when you don't think that you have value, when you don't think you can take that next step, when you are a leader and you think, for God's sake, I can't do this for another day, they're the ones that inspire us. And I saw in the chat somebody said about getting mentors. Mentors have to come from within and without the industry. They have to come from the broad spectrum of the industry, because otherwise you don't get a balanced playing field either. And so who inspires you? They're the people that support you and hold you up on the top on the really, really, really tough days. And the last thing that I'm going to say is you all need to step up. And I don't mean women. We don't need more confidence. We don't need fixing. What we damn well need is the industry to step up and make changes. And I know the UK Cybersecurity Council is talking about consultation. Consultation is talk. Actions are the things that change what we need to change now. We need to be looking at industries that don't have diverse boards on it. We need to be asking why Lorna is not spoken and Jonathan is spoken. We need to be asking why the hell I'm fighting a 2.5-year battle to get a visa and I can't get the men in the industry to stand up and say, why am I experiencing that? I talk about a thing called a cost chasm rather than a gender gap, because for every one of us that are on this call and probably listening, and for those that have spoken today and the other sessions that I've listened to, and I was in London yesterday and I'll be back in London again tonight talking the same thing, there's not just a gap, there's a huge cost chasm of financial implications of everything we've had to do costs us more, we fight harder, and the emotional chasm is massive. You know, I know that everybody on this call has heard me whinge and moan and complain and, you know, about times when I've needed support. But that emotional strength that we use fighting to get to the places that we need to fight. Can you imagine if that energy was actually used to make our digital world more trusted? For God's sake, our ability to promote the UK economy and the global economy, if we weren't smashing those glass ceilings, we could be out there valorizing assets, we could be fighting ransomware, we could be supporting women in Ukraine and around the world. The energies that we're using and the money and the finances that we're using just to get to some equal playing field is obscene, and that needs to change. And in terms of thought leadership, the last one I'm going to say is have courage, because we have it in droves. And as women, we support each other. I mean, I talk about this being, you know, International Women's Day. I actually struggle to say Happy International Women's Day, because in 2021, I'm actually not happy about the fact that we're still having to have International Women's Day. I do celebrate every single woman that regardless of where they sit in this industry, whether they're a new entrant or whether they're a leader in the industry, and those that have smashed those glass ceilings to get to CEOs positions and CISOs positions and CTOs positions. But I sit in the chats where they have the same struggles and they go out and it's fake it till you make it. And so having courage to not only continue to go through each day and each step the same as we've done, but have courage to be honest about the challenges that we really are facing and start to hold the industry accountable. Because if I was to genuinely encourage somebody to go into the cybersecurity industry, in many ways, if I go back to my career in risk management, I'm placing them at harm. And if you were in any other industry, we wouldn't do that. If we were in construction or civil construction or mining or resources, we would be held accountable. And so I think having courage to actually hold the industry accountable and expect tangible change is what thought leaders like us have to do. If we can use our voice of influence, then we've achieved our goal. And I view it today, that if I make one difference to one woman today, I've achieved my goal. And I think that's really super important. So, you know, I think a lot of what women will want to say today and is not palatable, is not want to be heard, but it needs to be heard and it needs to be acted on.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's my thoughts on thought leadership into the industry. And I will keep smashing it out. I will keep sitting on every board in this goddamn country that exists, and I will keep speaking about it, although I might be actually kicked out of the country in 10 days because I'm not quite good enough. But I'm going to keep doing it.
No, you won't, Lisa. Lisa, you are an absolute inspiration and powerhouse. We're going to have to flip over to the Q&A now, but what you've been talking about, Lisa, I think we're going to be able to dig deeper on that and explore that further, if that's okay, over
Absolutely.
the Q&A. So ladies, if you can, and all of our lovely guests, if we can hop out of here and back to the main stage, I believe. So see you in a moment. Thank you so much, everybody.